Hello, 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 everybody. We're back again. Another week, another Black History Month, Black Game Pro Session special. For the people coming back, thank you so much for coming back. It's really appreciated. It's cool, very cool to see. I'm gonna turn the music down. The music is way too loud today. It's way too loud. Let me turn it down a little bit. That's fine. That's nice background music. No, like I said, it's super cool to see people returning week after week. And it's cool to see people engaging with the stream. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to create this platform, Black Game Pro Sessions, to share stories, to share experiences from the amazing people that are working in our industry, sharing their knowledge, and hopefully through that inspiring you guys out there, wherever you are in the world, to do even better. Speaking of which, also a cool thing is I really appreciate the fact that I see people from literally all over the world join these sessions. We have people from the continent, from Africa joining. We have people from North America, from the US, and from Canada. We got people from Europe joining. And, it's slowly but surely turning into this thing that I'm trying to build out further this year. Anyway, enough about me and enough about my ramblings. Let's bring it to today's guest, who I consider to be, I would call him a friend. I've been following him for years now, and I brought him into Ubisoft to work on a special project that in the end didn't work out. We're not going to touch on that because NDAs and stuff, but it's cool to see him grow from basically, hosting esports competitions at HBCUs to what he's doing now. So let me give him a proper introduction. Ryan Johnson, we're talking about Ryan Johnson if you didn't know that. He's the founder and CEO of Cxmmunity Media, a next generation media platform at the intersection of gaming, anime, and creator culture that serves as a cultural home for Gen Z audiences. Under his leadership, Cxmmunity launched the HBCU Esports League, reaching over 45 million viewers and partnering with brands including Twitch, Nike, Verizon, MTN Dew, and Honda, and developed Kickback, a signature live and digital experience blending gaming, music, and creator culture. Backed by an investment and strategic partnership with Live Nation Urban and supported by his 10,000 plus members creator community, Ryan is scaling Cxmmunity as a leading platform shaping the future of entertainment and fandom. That was a lot of introduction, but it's impressive what this man has built. So let me bring him to the stage and please welcome the amazing Ryan Johnson. I imagine applause. Yeah. What's up, Ryan? Yo, what? Pow.
What up, boy? How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for joining. I know you're super busy.
I mean, of course. I told you. You told me a few months ago. I was like, make it happen. And I was like, thankfully, even with what is going on today, the timing is all works out. So it was like, it's perfect. So excited to be here. Been watching previous episodes. Love what you built. So, man, always just thankful for the platform for sure.
Of course. Well, once again, thank you also for the viewers joining. By the way, viewers, if you have any questions for Ryan, put them in the chat, and we will ask him. Also, if you're new to the stream, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We're all friends here. We're a community. We're building. But Ryan, let's before we go into an actual in-depth interview about what you have managed to build. First of all, congratulations on your new partnership with LurkCon. I saw that yesterday. That was dope.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. I'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we'll touch on it later. Every guest that I have, we kind of warm up with the simple questions, starting with favorite game growing up.
Okay, it's split because there's different phases, right? So I kind of split it into two, and it's pre-online gaming and post-online gaming. So post-online gaming for me, easily Halo 3, or I just say Halo, the franchise, right? Just literally even right now, I told myself I'm gonna finally start streaming, and my content that I'm gonna run on is dropping Halo clips every day until I go pro. That's just what it's gonna be. And I would say probably before online gaming, I'll probably say like Ratchet and Clank. I was a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 kid until I got Halo. So I would say probably Ratchet and Clank or Sly Cooper were like the two games I probably played the most, or like that single player. Yeah. Yeah. But Halo for sure, bro. I was playing Halo like probably 4 hours last night. I'm not gonna hold you.
Oh wow! Now, I used to play Halo a lot during like my college days with a friend of mine, Eric, and one of the things that we always like, the music, the Halo music, the soundtrack. Oh my god! Like,
I fall asleep to it, wake up to it. It's like beautiful afternoon resting music. Yeah, sometimes I just come on my Xbox and literally would just let the music run.
Exactly. It's almost like Skyrim, like the Skyrim soundtrack or Oblivion soundtrack. We have a question from Tobe. By the way, thank you, Tobe, for joining once again. Welcome, Ryan. What is your Mount Rushmore of video games / game series?
I got you. So as I just mentioned, Halo for sure is like the first one up there. Battlefield, 2K. I'm like a 2K head from 2K, specifically 2K8 to 2K19. I had to retire, bro. Like it was one of the things that was just putting me up there, but I still throw it on my Mount Rushmore. And this is so random. The fourth, it would either be Tony Hawk Pro Skater or Guitar Hero, and I'm undecided.
Oh, just because I mean, Guitar Hero, I never really got good at. Tony Hawk Pro, yeah.
Like I don't know which one it is, but it'd be one of those four. And it's weird because like usually like people are like Smash. Like I played Nintendo games growing up, but like I never owned Nintendo consoles. So like although I enjoy the Super Mario, like the Mario parties, all that, it's just those are mine: Halo, Battlefield, 2K, and then fourth one, answer, either Guitar Hero, like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, probably.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is your guilty pleasure game?
Guilty pleasure game. You know, it's crazy. I just started playing the new Prince of Persia that came, and I'm like, this has been pretty cool. It's been pretty cool. Like, because again, like, bro, I'm not gonna hold you. When we have our podcast, we started our podcast maybe a few months ago. I think I was telling you about that, and it just hit me in my late 32 years of life that I'm not, compared to what I know now and like the people that are watching in our Discord, bro, I don't think that I'm a gamer, right? And because here's what I thought gaming was like how many hours I sat down and played a game, right? But now that I'm around so many creatives, I'm like, bro, y'all play so many games. I'm familiar with the titles, but like I don't necessarily play that many different games, bro. I play right now, I'm not making this up, bro. I play Halo and Battlefield. People are like, what do you play? I play Halo and Battlefield.
Yeah, but I mean that's fine. I mean, you don't have to.
I'm not like a variety gamer.
No, but being a gamer, I mean that's of course a definition that can be discussed. But being a gamer doesn't mean you have to have like 100 games in your collection that you rotate between. That's like, no, I mean, ain't nobody got time. Some people got time for that. You're trying to build something. You don't. There's a limited amount of hours.
Making it impossible for us to have anything besides Warzone on our console. So we appreciate y'all.
What's your game of last year, 2025? If you, I mean, even though you were selective in the games that you played.
I'm going to say, bro, I'm going to tell you what my game of last year was. It was Battlefield and Halo. That's what it was.
Exactly.
Like even before Battlefield 6 came out, everybody hated it. I don't know why, but I like Battlefield 2042. It's weird, bro. Like, so that was the one where it was like it fell off, but I played it a lot. But I would say probably the first 3 quarters of last year, I was on Warzone heavy. Like, I mean, throughout the pandemic, I was basically like that whole Warzone era. And then in my opinion, I kind of got off COD, bro. I felt like Activision started to like, it was too many collaborations. They brought in like the boys and there were superpowers in Call of Duty. And I'm like, bro, this game is no longer for me. And that's just when I kind of shifted out there.
You're a purist.
Bro, I'm a purist, bro. I don't like when too much extra stuff come into the world, bro. I like the realism of it. And even to your point about, I'll share this, like I grew up an only child. So I think even now when I'm watching people play a bunch of single player like base games and like story based games, for me, gaming was the escape from being alone. So like even the idea of like playing a solo player game now, like I think that's why I'm so ingrained in like first person shooter, like specifically like FPS type games, because I feel like it just has the most immersiveness and kind of like at least what I'm trying to get out of it.
That's a great answer. Okay. Also, yeah, fair enough. Makes a lot of sense. I think we're warmed up. I think we're already in talking mode, which is great. So let's pivot to you and your early beginnings. I mean, greatness comes from small beginnings. What were your small beginnings? Where were, for the people that don't know, and I know you've shared this story quite a few times already, but for the people that don't know.
How far back do you want me to go? I mean, I can I'll summarize. So in short, I was, because all this context, at least for me, is relative, like how I kind of like observed my own life and how I got here. So I was born in the South. I was born in Columbia, South Carolina, but then randomly and ironically, I was raised in Columbia, Maryland. So something about the Columbia is there, right? As I mentioned, I was the only child my whole life. I played sports, middle school, high school, college basketball. But what was interesting growing up, I was always into gaming, heavy trading cards. Like I had, one of the kids with the Pokemon binders, getting cards all the time. But then I was also really, really big into skateboarding. And so I always like to start with that foundation because it was really interesting too. So it was like, there's this black side, right? But then there was also this, as defined by entertainment, like non-black side that I was like really, really into. But how my household was set up, my mom, she's a member of Delta Sigma Theta. My dad is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. Internally, I always knew who I was, right? So the activities that I was interested in, I felt like they never defined, like my interest, I never felt like defined my identity. But at that time, especially growing up, those are like major determining factors that ultimately played into a lot of some of the challenges I had growing up, like kind of being the weird kid, the outcast. I had glasses, I had braces. So it was like literally the whole package. But my saving grace was the fact that I could put the ball in the hoop and I was exceptional at that, right? So like always teetered this really weird line of like, you're in, but like not in. So then fast forward, I go to college. I graduated with a degree in pre-physical therapy. A lot of people actually don't know that, but like my undergrad degree is in physical therapy because, as I mentioned, I wanted to stay kind of like in this sports lane. So at the time, my aspiration was to be like a physical therapist for either a college team or a professional basketball organization. Come to find out, I didn't get into any graduate schools for PT. I applied literally to one school because I knew it wasn't where my heart was, but I was like, let me just say I did it. I didn't get in, and I kind of went on to the next thing. So when I graduated in May of 2015, I went to the illustrious Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, the greatest HBCU on earth. And from there, my first job was actually, I got into IT sales, right? It was a complete transition from everything I studied. But what was interesting about sales, like the title specifically, like account executive, as you know, right? There's no real requirement. Like, yo, can you sell? Does it seem like you can hustle? Worst case scenario, if it don't work, we'll get ready. You get somebody else in here. So I went back home to Maryland after I graduated in 2015. I was working there for about 5 months. And what ended up happening in October of 2015 is Vonage. If you're, I don't know, do you have Vonage in the UK and overseas?
No, we do not.
So Vonage at the time, they were like one of the first like voice over IP phone companies. Like, so for home phones and for business phones, right, you could have like voice over IP phones versus like analog lines. So Vonage ended up buying the business that I was working for, and that relocated me down to Atlanta, Georgia. So like my transition to Atlanta wasn't even planned. It wasn't scheduled. It was nowhere on the roadmap. It was, nah, you can keep this job that you just got, or you can stay here and try and find something else. I was like, Atlanta seems cool. A lot of my homies from college went to live in Atlanta. So I was like, let me make that transition. So I kind of fast forward. So I get to Atlanta in October 2015. I stayed in corporate America from 2015 until 2018. And I ended up leaving in November of 2018 because I got into graduate school at Georgia State. And the graduate program was to the major, I guess you say, was sports administration because as I mentioned, bro, I'm an athlete my whole life. I've been playing video games my whole life. I wanted to like really bridge this gap between my personal interest and like what I wanted to do professionally. So essentially got into grad school, and that's where everything changed for me, man. I loved Georgia State. What I didn't know at the time is that how connected Atlanta was, not just in culture, but in sports media. It doesn't resonate that like, yo, the NBA on TNT up until very recently, like that shot in downtown Atlanta. And one time we actually had a class at TNT. And what happened with me was we went to go see Studio J. So that's where, you know, Charles, Ernie, Shaq, and all them. But right next to Studio J at the time was E-League, right? And so I done, and so I'm like, what is E-League? Y'all have to explain this to me. And they're like, oh, well, on Friday nights on TBS, we broadcast video game culture competitions. We bring on creators. And I was like, I don't know what this means. And so they're like, yo, we work with the gaming industry. And I was like, wait, you can have a job in the video game industry? And from that moment, I never looked at like basketball as an industry again, as like the full-time thing. Started doing more research, man. And at the time, it was a couple of amazing things that were happening. Georgia was one of the first 3 or 5 states in North America to announce official high school esports. And then also HBCUs were slowly but surely trying to get into the space. And so doing the research, we found out that nearly the IGDA, right, they had put out some research like in 2018, 2019, that 83% of Black youth were playing video games on a weekly basis, but only 2% of the gaming workforce was African American. And so I was like, yeah, that statistic is true as hell. I'm one of them, right? I'm one of the 83 and nowhere near the 2. And then I just started doing research to figure out like, yo, who's doing this? How can we help? And myself and my business partner, Chris, we both went to HBCUs. And so we just had this concept of creating a league in a structure where HBCUs would be given the same privilege as PWIs. And if you're not predominantly white institutions, I realize in the UK, like that's a little bit different. But taking one step back for a second, in 2020, I believe there were over 200 predominantly white institutions or traditional state colleges that had gaming programs, scholarships, or esports teams. But at the same time, there were 0 HBCUs in 2020 that were actively participating at like the same level, right? So we're like, let's start an organization that can essentially bridge the gap between the students, the industry, the brands, and the creators and the agencies and their interest in reaching multicultural audiences. And so HBCU Esports became kind of like this central point where you could create an entertainment property in the form of a live broadcast and a production, but then we could deliver scholarships and also build out esports labs and infrastructure at institutions that couldn't afford to do it themselves, which then gave them the blueprint to then actually participate in gaming programs. So that's kind of like the backstory of kind of like how we got here. So I'll pause. I know that was a lot.
But I mean, it's
kind of like the backstory.
Thanks for sharing the backstory. What I then always wonder about is what gave you that confidence to, I mean, yes, you were at the right place. It seems like you were at the right place at the right time. You know, you saw what was happening in the HBCU world, but you saw what was happening from a statewide perspective, and you decided to jump in that void and create community. What happened just before that moment that you made that decision? Did you have conversation with your parents, with your friends, or was it just like spontaneous? Like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, no. So what ended up happening? So going back to like real quick, November of 2018, when I ended up leaving my corporate job, I took this unpaid internship with this. Essentially, it's like a media. It was an investment organization that focused in like media, gaming, and like new innovation. And one of the first investments that I was a part of was into this gaming land center in downtown Atlanta. So it was this idea that I left my job. I told my parents before I left my job, they're like, are you sure? I was like, I think, because my rationale was like, when you come up in sales, you work at a big company, but right, you're basically an individual, like an independent contributor to what you do. Like you have your own numbers, your own thing. And I was like, Mom, I think I can do it because I have to hit my numbers at Vonage. And if I think about it the same way that I think of, like, I have to think about it now, I know I won't be getting a salary, but I know the money is real, right? And I think for me, early on, I started thinking about life in like couple different ways of like easy and hard versus possible and impossible. And I'm like, it's possible, right? The money's there. I as an individual just need to figure out the avenues to like tap in. So it was talking to my parents. I had just came through Alpha. So I had like line brothers, right? And I had a lot of peers I could like really lean in and trust. Funny enough, my line brother, Dimitri, he actually created the first community logo, right? Him and his wife, he drew it on their countertop in their kitchen. And I always just felt, no pun intended, even why I call it the company community, is that that's what I have. That's where I come from. So I felt like worst case scenario, I got somewhere to go if this whole thing fails, right? Like I know I got that around me. But yeah, man, so that was kind of it. Hopefully did I answer the question?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You answered. I mean, and follow-up question for me, like you said you grew up as a single kid. Yeah. That's a one kid family, and you created a community. You created the thing that you didn't have growing up. You know,
Basically.
you were the outcast, like myself, by the way. I mean, I didn't have the braces and the glasses, but I definitely was not the popular kid at school. But you created this community around yourself and managed to turn it into, well, your job, your career right now.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's really what it was. It was, if I were to say like honestly what community is everything I wish I had as a kid. Because I think transparently, this is funny where like you start talking about like how this, you know, identity and interest thing align. There was like a big confidence part of me that was missing growing up. And I always look at it from basketball. Like, bro, because I grew up skateboarding, I had exceptional athleticism, right? So like playing basketball, like I could fly, like jump through the gym. But in high school, I never dunked in a basketball game, right? I had the ability, but it never happened. And so this is when I started to realize like putting myself around the right people in the right space is so important. So I go from like a predominantly white school, K through 12. I go down to Alabama to a HBCU for college. Bro, everybody's dunking, right? That was the culture. Like open gym, that was it. And then out of nowhere, bro, I'm dunking everything, right? Open gym, in games, like whatever. And I'm like, when I think back at that, I think back now, like my college a whole bunch. I was like, bro, there was nothing that changed physically from me from May of 2011 to August of 2011. It was my environment. It was the people around me. It was how they talked about the thing that they were trying to do. And so I always just took that as like a really early on life lesson. And so my point to answer your question was 5 years forward from that, I knew I could do community because it was inside of me. I just had to kind of like tap into it a little bit. And I wasn't as scared to fail as much as I was years before, right? Just like kind of growing up and coming up. But then more importantly, I just know myself, and like I wasn't coming from a place of like, oh, I think we can make a lot of money doing this. Oh, this is the next hot thing and I just want to be on a wave. We're like, yo, there is a true opportunity to bridge the gap. And we've just been extremely intentional in doing that. And I think at least what people share with me, and like I feel like even how I met you, I feel like people resonated with that, and they felt like, because there's a lot of people that were trying to do HBCU Esports League. There's about 8 people and looking back at it is like, how did we get the deal, right? Over everybody else who had more experience, who had more tenure. And my boy that helped us get that, I was talking to him the other day, funny enough, and he was like, yo, it's because like you all had the best plan, but you also had the best story. And
it's so important
to execute. And so that was kind of like to answer that question.
I mean, I think I've spoken to most of these 8 people that were working on these HBCU esports missions back in the days, the early 20s. Where you, I think, stand out is it's indeed, it's the story, but it's also the fact that indeed you are the bridge, because you're kind of 1 foot in college, 1 foot in corporate world. You were not too far removed from the people that actually need your services that you created, the community that you create. So you understand. You were one of them. Like you said, you created something that you would have loved to have when you were growing up.
Yeah, and that's funny because you can't see the chat on my side in the Discord, but like we got one of our young boys. They're all graduated and grown up now. But Tone, he went to FMU down in Florida, Florida Memorial, right? And it's dope to even see now them getting out of college. And he's just an example. There's probably like 4 or 5 more, but like they've now started their own gaming companies, right? Their own esports orgs, and they're doing things that we were trying to do, right, coming up. And so like that's where I started to realize like, okay, we are a little bit more than just like an esports organizer, right? It's like a little bit
so much more.
There's a lot more gravitas. And so as we've just been building the business and finding different ways to provide value is ultimately just like it's really cool to see. It's funny now I say this, like we have a whole bunch of programs we got going on in Atlanta. We hire the students that started LLCs that graduated from Morehouse coming out of HBCU Esports League. So like they actually work our events, and we, you know what I'm saying? So like it's really cool to see that timeline like come to fruition.
Yeah, yeah, you should be. I mean, I'm sure that you are, but you can be super proud of what you created. You created that. You changed people's lives, or at least you gave them a specific direction. You gave them the permission that you were maybe looking for yourself growing up by showing how it's done and giving them the keys. Like, okay, well, now you go do it.
Yeah,
that's super dope.
That's
what I wonder about, because you started it with friends community, and they're still all involved, right?
Yeah, so the folks that we started, like we didn't grow up together. Yeah, so like we didn't like grow up together, but we met in Atlanta. So here's the story. The story how I met Chris was essentially when I was working in my corporate job initially, I was in, like I said, this IT sales role. Chris was in grad school already at Georgia State. And this guy that was a business partner at the company I worked with, he was like a vendor of the agency I worked with. He was in the grad program with Chris, and he was like, you two should meet because y'all are kind of talking about the same thing. But again, that thing at the time was sports agents, right? Like at the time, this is right before grad school. So I was like, yo, man, I can't wait to be an NBA agent. I want to be doing this, that, and the third. And in grad school, Chris was kind of doing the same thing, but for football, right? So he's like, yo, you guys should kind of figure it out. So not to say that, of course, we're amazing friends, but as far as like childhood level, it's like not actually. Him and I's story started in the middle of 2017, and then it's just been growing and growing and developing from what we've been building since then. Oh, there's Chris right there.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Chris.
Like the guy that introduced us, his name is Sanchez. It's crazy. He introduced us, and I swear on my life, I don't think I've seen him since. I don't know where Sanchez went.
I mean, but that's sometimes you have these people in your life that you only meet once. They introduce you, or they create something. They create an energy in your life that changes the course of your life, which it did. Because if you haven't met Chris, you might have never created a community.
Right. It's like that's think about these things a lot, man. It's like it's very. And what's interesting now is like now that I'm in LA and I'm just removed from Atlanta, it gives me like another perspective of like my own life. It's weird because it's like my life is there.
Not weird at all.
From it, so it's like I'm kind of looking at it from like a far away perspective. I'm like, yeah, man, there's a lot of different people and one-offs and connections that were made. I'm like, bro, I have no idea, not to get biblical like spiritual, but I'm like, bro, it definitely was some hands at play, right?
It seems like it.
That made this all happen. And
you're probably supposed to do this, what you're doing. You are. The universe is telling you that no, this is what you should be doing. Here, let's open some doors and let's put some people on your path that can help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah, man, that's literally how I feel about most of it.
Nate, shout out to Sanchez and hey, Chris. he's in the chat. Everything is well with me, Chris. Thanks for asking. You start out as basically a small company with a small footprint doing already pretty cool things within the HBCU sphere and esports. Then at a certain point in time, you pivot, you grow, you turn into, like you said it earlier, phase 2 of your plan. The plan is work. # the plan is working. What was one truth that you had to confront about yourself to level up?
You got to develop some patience, bro. I think that's really what it was. Don't get me wrong, I think it's twofold. Because one, there's like this whole thing like in business, like time is short and windows in business are short to like take advantage of moments or time. But I think when I say the patience part of it, it was, it was maybe not even having the patience. It was frustration and maybe not knowing what you felt like you needed to know to be able to move fast enough, right? And so I just wish a few years ago I understood that from a different perspective now. I think it could have saved myself and a whole bunch of people a lot of headache. Just as far as like how you deal or respond to certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, but it's like also you don't know what you don't know. Like just even for the record, when we talk about, don't quote me on this, but based on what was shared with us, I mean, we were probably the first, if not the second, for sure the youngest Black-owned company to have a corporate level partnership with Twitch. And so like you're talking about 26, 27-year-olds that now get this deal. Like you're not only having to build a league, you're learning how to not only work with a business and agency, but the largest media business and agency, and like having to understand the nuance and the technicalities and all of that kind of, I think, created a lot of noise internally because it's like it was all new and you have to learn how to sort through it while you're building and making sure the HBCUs are having a good. That's what I always thought was interesting about the HBCU Esports League, because what I know coming out of the HBCU community, like as a product of that space, is like we don't think about the other side of like what has to happen. I'm not saying that from any negative way, right? But it's like this league kind of popped up and it was like giving scholarships, jobs, opportunity. But it's like the league side of it never saw what community had to go through to make that happen, right? So that's where I think now for us in this second phase, we just have a much better understanding of how to deliver value without having to like drive ourselves crazy in the process of doing that. Because don't get me wrong, but like those first 2-3 years of HBCU esports is like the league started, you signed on Verizon, then Discover came, then Nike came, then Hot Pockets. And then out of nowhere, Mountain Dew's like, yo, we want to give $1 million away through your platform. Literally, I got one of our students in here now, Caleb. He's like, yo, I got rich off of this. Like there's like way more kids in HBCU esports in its heyday are richer than Chris and I. It's insane. Caleb, we may need to hold $1, my brother. But what ended up happening is, as you know, right, when you're working with brands and there's category exclusivity, right? So if I work with Verizon, I can't work with AT&T, I can't work with T-Mobile, et cetera. So while these categories were getting written off, brands still wanted to work with us. Some of them were competitive, some were not. So that's when we met some other guys out here in LA and we partnered together, and that's where the Kickback then kind of came into play, right? And so just to kind of give like a bird's eye view, the way Cxmmunity is structured, we basically have 3 brands. Cxmmunity Media operates as essentially an agency, its capabilities, marketing services, consulting services, talent relations, whatever. We have the HBCU Esports League, which is like our competitive gaming property. We have the Kickback, which is like our gaming culture, music creator platform. And then we have an anime cosplay brand called Trap Sushi. And so like those 3 elements make up Cxmmunity. And then the fourth, I said 3, I'm sorry, I meant 4. The fourth is like our Discord environment where we have about 10,000 creators, 75% in North America. And then the remaining is across Africa and the Philippines primarily. And so that is kind of like what makes up, no pun intended, our community in that element. So as HBCU Esports was growing, it was developing. We then started the Kickback in October of 2020. I'm sorry, I said 2020, October of 2022. And we were very grateful because Riot Games was like our founding partner of that event. And it was really dope because in 2022, I believe that's right. Yeah, 22 for sure. Worlds for League of Legends was in North America that year. So the Kickback aligned when the semifinals sold out State Farm Arena. So State Farm Arena sold out for League of Legends, primarily white Asian audiences, but Riot was like, yo, we're coming into Atlanta. We want something culture-based. So literally right down the street, we threw the Kickback. We had an all-black, it was their first all-black league tournament. We had Morehouse, it wasn't Morehouse. We had Howard, Morgan State came in, the AUC was involved. And then we had a concert. We had Pusha T and G Herbo and Young Baby Take the show. So it was like literally on the same street in downtown Atlanta. You had League and the Kickback, but it was all supported by Riot Games. And so then the Kickback continued to grow. The next year we had NLE Choppa and Spotify. The following year we had Xfinity, Microsoft, and we did a show. And then we are now kind of like getting ready to announce what the Kickback 2026 looks like. But in the midst of all that, we just did this deal with Live Nation Urban.
Yeah, exactly. To tell us about that, because when I saw that message, I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, because I
Uh,
know these guys. I know how difficult signing such a big deal and such an important deal can be. So please
yeah.
enlighten us.
Yeah, no. So the short story is that a woman, and I keep going back to come forward because I like to convey in my story that this stuff is not random. It's years of relationships and development.
Of
So
course.
a woman, her name is Joy Brown. At the time when we met, she was the vice president of marketing at Atlantic Records. We were doing some stuff with Issa Rae's new TV show. That was like where we initially met her.
Mhm.
Fast forward now, she has this platform called Culture Creators, and they had a deal with Live Nation Urban where they were creating a college summit that was attached to Lil Wayne's festival. So every year, I can't remember what month. It's like usually October. Every year, Lil Wayne does Louisiana Festival, and so before the festival, they had this college summit, and I spoke on the summit about community gaming, the whole nine.
Mhm.
What was crazy is like after the panel, I just get into a conversation to like, hey, bro, we love what you're doing and we should have more talks. I end up maybe a week later having a meeting with Brandon Pankey, who's their vice president of business development. Was really dope about Brandon. He's also one of the co-creators of the Roots Picnic. So like,
Yep, that's dope.
so just to kind of and give an idea, Live Nation Urban is not like the Black division of Live Nation. Live Nation Urban is actually its own independent business that has a joint venture with Live Nation.
Mhm.
So within Live Nation Urban, they have an investment fund called the Black Lily Fund that is focused on investing in early stage Black and Brown founders that are innovating across entertainment, music, sports, etc. So if you can imagine, Live Nation Urban on paper is the largest Black promoter and event producer in the world. So they have the BET Experience, the Roots Picnic, Broccoli City Festival, um, Black on the Block, and a bunch of other things. But as
Mhm.
they are looking at the next generation of Black entertainment, they recognize that gaming, anime, cosplay, the things that have been left out of the legacy 45-year
Yep.
history of Black entertainment are going to be
Geek
extremely important.
culture. Yes.
And so they're like, hey, we don't know anything about this space. We know how to make anything popular and we can sell out anything we put our name on, but we need authenticity in what we're doing. So across again, HBCU Esports from competitive esports, the Kickback from gaming, culture, music, entertainment, and then even with Trap Sushi, they're like, this is a very strategic one-stop shop for us to not only invest but partner. And I'm like, for us, man, it has made all the difference. Again, going back to the parts that people don't see, like to put on a kickback up front, we sometimes need anywhere from 75 to $100,000
Mhm.
just to say that we're doing an event, right? And
Mhm.
now having someone like Live Nation where they can put venues on hold for me where I don't have to put down a deposit, like that is
Oh yeah.
gravity, right?
Oh
Or
yeah.
just having different financial or economic structures that allow us to move forward without always having to figure out how to get the money to then do the thing. So that has been a really big part, but that's how it came to life, man. Again, just talk about the path. It was telling the same story, following up with people, checking in with people. That's how, because a big part of what people don't recognize in entrepreneurship is you're not even really fighting to make people think your idea is good, right? The people probably think it's good. You're fighting to like stay top of people's minds. And then when
Mhm.
you think about like how busy people's lives are, not only from work, but on a personal level, is like what I found to be successful is like, how do you stay involved in someone's life in a way that's not intrusive, but in a way that is like complementary? And the example of how I got invited to speak at the festival where I ended up meeting Live Nation is just that we stayed in contact, we say hello, micro communications, kind of like even the same way you and I do. It doesn't take much. It's a quick
Mhm.
LOL and a response to someone's Instagram story or just checking in to see how they're doing. But that's essentially what the backstory is to Live Nation and what Live Nation Urban. And for short, I say LNU. So if I say LNU for the rest of this, like Live Nation Urban, it's a mouthful if you can imagine. But with LNU, that's exactly how it came to fruition as well.
That is, it's so impressive, and I don't think people understand how impressive that partnership is. Live Nation or Live Nation Urban, they don't partner with anyone. I've worked with them in the past for my position within Ubisoft, and they're a great partner. But they're huge. So the fact that they recognize the work that you're doing, and they also see the potential in the future of what you're doing, is amazing. It's great.
Appreciate you. Seriously.
So operationally speaking, how does this partnership? How does it work? Do you have like weekly meetings? Is it more of a keep me informed kind of thing, or is like here's a bag and you do with it what you want?
I would say, so to answer your question, kind of going backwards. So there are weekly meetings, like there's a weekly LNU call where all the partners join. And so for me, I'd love to join. Actually, I haven't been on in the last, call it 4 or 5 weeks. That's not intentional. It's just been bad timing and on my end, like other meetings, whatever. But to your point, yeah, there's a weekly meeting where everyone comes together. That's where I'm honestly a sponge. I'm listening because again, like I'm coming from I'm coming from a pre-physical therapy background, right? Like this idea of working in entertainment at the highest level, like that's always been there. But it's like now that I am there, I'm listening. And like, so the founders of One Music Fest are talking, the announcements that are public that I can talk about, like, on March 26th of this year, Live Nation Urban is working with Robert F. Smith. For those that are unfamiliar, Robert F. Smith is the richest African-American man in North America. The week of March 26th, he is raising $100 million in a festival called HBCU Aware Fest. And I mean, it's a massive takeover that's happening in Atlanta. And I'm like, LNU is producing it, right? So what ends up happening is now we get these extensions into all of these other major festivals that exist, but then that are also being created in real time. Like I know our community is familiar with Keith Lee, right? Keith Lee just announced a food festival, I think like 1 or 2 days ago. Live Nation Urban is producing that. So for me, it's like knowing these things are coming out months in advance. My goal now is like, how do I like realign our strategy? Yeah, he's literally hosting it. Yes, correct, bro. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm responding. I got chat on my like exactly.
Multitasking, I love it.
Yeah, so so the whole idea now is like, all right, cool. With this vision of communities, like you have a plan, you have a direction, but now you have like a big brother that can help amplify that. And so it's like, how do we not readjust, but again, how do we align our strategy to fit into this larger strategy as well? So
how do you? I mean,
it's a work in progress.
I mean, do you have mentors that you work with, or is it just your core group and you brainstorm and figure it out?
Yeah,
or both?
It's a little bit of both, but at this stage right now, it's a lot of external like mentor calls. And thankfully, right, as I mentioned, like because the partnership was led with investment, LNU is also like our mentor as well. So like we're able to go to them with questions, not just about our partnership, but about community as a business. And they're able to open doors and broker relationships where we haven't necessarily been able to get into just yet. So it's like, that is like a direct version. But then even with both myself, Chris, like we have like our short roster of just people that have also been there throughout the whole journey that we get into as well. Because I think at this stage, right, there's no amount of information that we can kind of neglect. It's really about taking all these perspectives and like trying to figure out what is the right way to go. Because I don't think we're doing, I'm saying this very carefully, I don't think it's super unique in the sense that we are a marketing media entertainment platform that is creating content and experiences for consumers, right? I think that happens within the space. But I do know, because we're focused on multicultural, we have like this little mix of HBCU in there as well. Like it's a little bit more nuanced than the traditional entertainment route. So I take all these things and figure out, to your point, is like, how does that align specifically to what you all are doing versus like what works for Uprocks or what works for Complex and these other platforms? Because I don't think that if we were to just take the Complex model and apply it to community, that it would work. And so like, we're just trying to figure out like, what is our exact secret sauce? Like we have like the pillars, but it's like, what is the ingredients? Like that way we can repeat and just keep moving forward.
Me from the outside looking at what you guys are doing, what you guys are bringing is authenticity. It's that, and I'm not saying that the other platforms don't bring it, because they are, they have their authority and authenticity within their own feels, but what you guys do, you are real. And the fact that you come from, going back to your childhood again, geek with braces, to now leading a multi-million-dollar company, dude, it's that. It's authenticity. Your story. That's that. That's why you have the gravitas, because you know the rags to riches kind of story, and that's why people come to you, because that's the energy that you also have. It's like, no, just be you. Do great work, but be you.
Yeah, man. That is the plan. This plan, gonna keep it going.
Yeah, and the plan is working once again. How did you come up? I mean, it's not per se. I mean, it's funny because for people that don't know, back in years ago, that's something that you put under each of your posts. The plan is working.
Yeah, it's fun. That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of things have changed. So to answer your question, for whatever reason, 2016 2016 was a big year for me as a person. Right, there's a lot that happened in my life that year. And Big Sean's album came out that year, and there's a song on that album called "Stick to the Plan," and I just listened to that song like literally religiously for damn near 2-3 years straight. I still listen to it all the time, but he in the song is like basically like stick to the plan, stay focused, it's just like a whole internal monologue. If you haven't checked it out, but anyway, that was the origin. So before the plan is working, I actually used to say hashtag stick to the plan. Like that was like what I was doing. And then around the time Cxmmunity and the league started taking off, it transitioned to like the plan is working. And I'm not lying. So like at one point in time when I feel like I get to the space mentally, I'm just going to probably do one hashtag that says the plan worked, and I plan to just like be done with all of it. Like probably sign out of socials, probably like all of it. Like
exactly. Mic drop after that.
Like I'm done. Like, because again, like I love building. I love the community that we have. I'll probably always stay engaged on a personal level, but this idea of like always being present and being on, that was not a part of my personal plan. And I was talking to some of our team about it the other day. I do regret. One of my very few regrets is that I don't think I took advantage of the light in the way that we could have to make this ecosystem even larger. I don't want to say like we strayed away from it, but it was, oh, I don't think we need to do that kind of thing. But then looking back at it now, I'm like, man, there was a lot of moments and content and things that just weren't shared. And so what's annoying about it in real time is I feel like I sometimes have to over-explain myself when in fact I just want to point you to a video and not have to talk about it. But the video's not there.
Yeah, but it's the fact that the video is not there, it's okay, dude. It's okay. It's funny because you always have that. The most successful people, they always, if only I would have, if only I could have. Like, dude, you're there. The plan is working. Sure. Could you've done better? Could you created more content? But sure, always. But it's like, dude, like, come on now. You created something.
I'm not mad at where everything ended up, but I was just, again, I'm in a very big like personal evaluation phase right now, and I just know that I'll tell you this, like for an example, this is something that actually makes me very frustrated, right? Because I didn't position myself as a creator, right? On a personal level, where I don't even get invited to play basketball and creator games, right? Or like these little like one-off things that are happening. I was like, bro, like I should be able to hoop right now. But they're like, nah, bro, you like minimum 10K followers. Like, I brushed out here. But it has been a journey. Like I even said today, like literally as soon as we're done, I'm going to UCLA, and I met. Okay, look, this is again relationships, right? Take a step back. In grad school, phenomenal people, bro. Like all my people from grad school are doing dope things in sports. So one of my good friends, she works for the NCAA, and she's a part of a nonprofit called oh my goodness, don't quote me on the name of the nonprofit, but the nonprofit is founded by the fathers of NBA players. I was sharing this with you a little bit earlier. Yep. So like Chris Paul's dad, Karl Anthony Towns' father, the chairman actually of Jordan Brand is also one of the founders. I met him last year. And so they do this nonprofit at every NBA All-Star game where they bring in from 800 to 1,000 high school students And they go through like this really cool, like immersive afternoon. So like literally going to talk to them right after this. And I'm like, it's these moments that like keep me energized. I think now it's sometimes when you get real deep in the journey, it's like you forget why. Like, how did I get here? Why am I doing it? And so like going in these rooms and seeing like the same question, bro, do y'all know y'all can make money playing games? Bro, what? Like that response back to me, like that's the thing that I'm like, all right, bro, you gotta keep moving, because it's the same response every time in every city.
Oh yeah.
Bro, every young kid, they're like, bro, you can do that.
It still is. It still is.
Yeah. So yeah, man, just looking forward to kind of all this. I think I got distracted just talking to you.
No, I appreciate it, dude. I appreciate you sharing all this knowledge, and it's always, it's you're living the life. So for you, it's it's normal. It's your everyday thing. It's your everyday struggles that you're going through. But you're doing exceptional things, dude. Really, you're doing exceptional things, and it needs to be said. It's like you're. Yeah, I mean, you're an example. I think you're an example. I think it can be said like that. Another question. In your own words, what does representation in gaming tech media mean to you and look like? I mean, you're building it, but what does it, what is it? Is it important? What do you believe?
For me, it's just, I think like keywords is like visibility, truth, and like acceptance. I feel like the way Black media was created, it wasn't accepting. It wasn't fully true, but don't get me wrong, it was mad entertaining though. You feel me? But it wasn't like a true representation of like what our community makes up, or more specifically, it wasn't a full representation of what 100%. It makes up. So my vision with this now is that we're not, we include everything, right? Like hip hop, sneaker culture, fashion. We're just, the only difference with us is like we're not excluding the things that y'all thought were weird. Not you, y'all, but the proverbial y'all. Like,
I'm sorry.
No, but we low key got beef. I know your backstory. It's like, but no, so like that's kind of like what it is like the we have this kind of, I don't say new, but going more public with our slogan of communities for the ones that don't fit in the box, right? So whatever that means to you, for you, that's essentially what we're going to. So in short, that's to answer your question, like what does that mean? Is like visibility, truth, and like acceptance. So like kind of like the three words I kind of always bundle it in.
That's yes. It's so much can say to that, but okay. That's yes, I agree with that. So what is next for community? I mean, you're already doing big things. What is something big that you're working on? I already mentioned the BlurredCon earlier, which I think is a great partnership. What can we expect?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think, so next coming up, one is kind of what you said. So the BlurredCon relationship, it's mainly that now as I look at what we're doing, we're still going to be doing like our experiences, the things that you're familiar with us, but taking maybe not a step back, but a step to the side and saying like, yo, right now, who do you go to learn about multicultural, Black, cultural related gaming news, events, highlights, whatever. So Cxm.co is our version of mtv.com, bet.com, where we're doing a lot more editorial storytelling. And so my goal now is that you're going to see a lot more of the DreamCon, the BlurredCon related announcements, where we're going to be stepping in and doing more media coverage, highlighting events. So BlurredCon, DreamCon, again, we have our own stuff, right? The need of what I'm talking about was birthed out of, it was very hard to get other people to talk about community in the work that we're doing, because again, we didn't really align with the agenda of most Black owned media, right? Mm-hmm. We align with like your Blavities because they have a tech audience with like Afrotech, but it was very challenging unless, again, BET would write about us once we gave away $100,000. But it's like, okay, well, what about everything else that's not $100,000 in value? How do we get our word and the things that we're doing out into the world? So we're like, bro, one, we need to tell our own story better. So this goes back to the 5-year thing I was referring to about content. It's not in lieu of oh, I wish we just went viral. It's not like literally these stories happened, and the fact that I can tell you about them, but they don't exist on the internet. And so historically now it's like weird to like convince people, like I was saying before. So cxm.co is like, it is our journal. It is the journal, right? So we're talking about community information. We have a shared industry calendar where our vision is within this environment, you can learn about all the cool things that are happening in the space. You can see the events that are upcoming. You can see our stuff. You can see industry-wide stuff. And then where we're going towards, I don't mind sharing this here. I actually would love to get people's feedback in real time. After talking to a lot of people, we're taking a step in the direction of creating like the community store. So think of like a cultural version of GameStop, right? So what happens at the Kickback right now, and
oh, my bad, sorry.
At the last Kickback, we had artists that do anime, painting, drawings. They were there selling their artwork. We had creators selling merchandise. We had independent game studios there selling their games. We were like, yo, why don't we just create an environment where we can bring all these products together? So down the road, we're getting ready to launch a creator-led marketplace. So all of the creators within our network will have a place to sell their products, merchandise. Independent game studios that we work with, it will be another storefront in addition to like Steam. And just this like listening again, right? I went to my first GDC last year and I met with these two Black-owned studios, and they had the same exact problem. Twofold problem. We're a Black studio. We can't find Black players. We're a Black studio. We need money. I can't convince investors that there's a Black gaming audience. All right, that is very objective statement. But
Yep.
the players exist, but because you're devs, you can't reach them. You can get money for your game, but you can't convince the people that the audience exists. Then I just started thinking like, damn, that is a legitimate, that's like a pickle, bro. Like that's a real situation. I'm like, how can you correct that? And then when I start looking at places like our Discord that is filled with gamers and creators, right? That's a great place for them to come. But then more importantly, how do you justify the audience size, the scope, the potential revenue? Well, you can't do that unless you have data. And I was like, well, based on the work that we've done for like the last 5-6 years, we also have a lot of data and information about the audience. And so it's like, how do you strategically work with your creators to get insights that give them early access? How do you, leverage the information to unlock dollars that should be coming to us but are being invested in other communities simply because we don't have, when I say we, not community, the whole community in this instance don't have the right numbers and representation to justify getting a larger investment. So we're like, all right, let's address that. And so even most recently, bro, it was really exciting. We've been working with Nielsen for like the last 3 to 4 months. And about 2 weeks ago, they just put out their 2026 audience insight report. And they used a bunch of our information in the gaming and anime. I'm sorry?
That's dope. That's cool.
Yeah.
Nielsen is huge. Yeah.
So now, like, again, like my strategy is like, how do we work with the industry best of best who also need access to what's happening? And so now if you go to the 2026 insights report from Nielsen, literally 2-3 weeks ago, like Cxmmunity Media is literally right there quoted. And then we have an asterisk of like the source. So now when we go out to the market, they're like, well, how do you guys have validation? I'm like,
you can point to that. Exactly.
Like you got to rock with me. Like, what are you talking about? So,
I mean, that's, yeah. You're building and you're creating your, you're creating the authority to get in to do even more business.
You can't tell me no. That's what I'm saying is like, at first they could be like, yo, the Kickback doesn't have scale. All right, have Live Nation say yes, thanks. It's like, oh, your data is not strong enough. All right, now talk to Nielsen. Thanks.
Exactly.
So like it's the whole, and that's what I learned early on in the fortunate part of working. I didn't know this at the time, but like no one tells you when you do a deal with Amazon, basically no one tells you no. Like because everyone wants Amazon's business. So it's not a selling.
It's leverage. You're leveraging your partnerships in order to unlock other doors.
And so having that firsthand experience and then marrying that with like the guidance of mentors and people that we have kind of like on our side is like, all right, cool. there's like day-to-day work that you just have to do, right? Like I was saying, like getting someone like these social graphics, or even having to like do the new like newsletters, or even do outreach for biz dev, like that has to happen. But these larger stepping stones that essentially knock down the doors in the middle is essentially kind of like the holistic strategy of how we've approached it for like the last few years.
And I think that's a lesson that a lot of people can learn from. It takes time. It takes time. You need to build, refine, and keep on refining again, and build again, and never give up, because the plan is working. If you believe in it. I think we're out of time, so I'm also gonna unleash you back into the world. I know you have a busy schedule today. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you sharing knowledge, sharing your story. I think a lot of the audience has been listening to you captivated, because there's not that many questions, which is good. I know that they're there. I know they're listening. Appreciate you, Ryan. Really, it's great to have seen you grow from where you were back in the early 19s. Wow.
Yeah, like
29, back in the early 19s, back in the old days. 2019, 2020 to where you are now. It's inspiring to see that, man, and really keep up the great work.
I appreciate you. Again, I remember when we first met, because again, there's not that many people that look like us in the space. And I just remember like you've always been dope, man, and just open and receptive. It was cool. We got to hang out that first year at Cannes. And look, I'm not going to say I know we're about to get out of here without saying much. I got to hang out with Leon in Amsterdam, and I will say, if this man was not with me, I have never been racially profiled the way I've been racially profiled. And I don't know if you remember at the concert. And
I was sharing that story the other day with a friend of mine. It was like,
oh, bro, listen, I'm telling y'all right now, if Leon was not there, I 100% would be in jail. And it was simply because the security people, they profiled me as literally, they're like, bro,
he was just an asshole, man. He was an asshole.
Bro, they're like, we walked in the building and they're like, you, not him. They're like, yo, you're here to sell drugs. I'm like, bro, I literally don't know what y'all are talking about. And they brought out the police. They brought out all this stuff, and I swear they started talking in Dutch. I couldn't communicate. Leon came almost to the woodworks. They got it cleared up. I was about to have like a miniature Brittany Griner situation, bro. Just like be locked up overseas.
And I was already like I'm gonna go live on Instagram. Like, oh shit, locked up in Amsterdam.
Like one of the craziest moments of my life. I was like, how do I justify this to anyone that Ryan is locked up in Amsterdam and he was only supposed to be there for 48 hours? But anyway, bro, no, seriously, thank you so much.
That was a dope event. Also, talking about relationships, that's also, you invited me to a cool concert, which was also super dope, Emily Chapa, and I had a great time. And I could bring my girlfriend as well, and she also had a great time.
Yeah, it was great, man. That's what I'm saying. You get to know people, like I said, Leon. For everyone that doesn't know, seriously, Leon, he lives in Europe.
I do.
And I'm like, bro, we're cool. Anyways, it's been years. But this is dumb, man. Is there any other? What else you got? Is that it?
No, just people saying great chat. Oh, we've got a message from William. We're on the spaces. Make sure you look for and out for each other. Indeed.
Yeah, man. It's whoo.
And got to be careful overseas. I mean,
then do nothing.
Europe, you mean? We cool out here, man. I'm chilling.
Like, we was literally minding our business, and that's why I was so thrown off. They're just like those guys. I'm like, bro.
It was also something. I mean, I was born and raised in Holland, so this kind of, I've never had this experience before either. This was I don't know what to do. I don't know what was wrong with the dude. This never happened before. So don't worry, my American friends. You can come to Europe. It's fine. Don't worry. Just don't look like Ryan. No.
Yeah.
Don't look shady like Ryan. You don't want that. That was a joke, obviously, for the people that don't understand. Well, anyway. I'm going to let you go. Once again, thank you, everybody, for joining. This is Ryan Johnson from Community, Cxm.co if you want more information. Appreciate the brother more than he probably knows. And we'll be back next week with Gordon Bellamy, another amazing guest, a legend in our industry.
Oh, yo, fun fact, me and Gordon did Afrotech's first gaming panel like 3-4 years ago. That's my dog. Tell him I said what's up.
I will. Alrighty. Thank you all very much.
I'll see you.